Hello, welcome to Hollywood Crime Scene. This is Rachel Fisher.
Hi, this is Desi Jedeikin. So today we're going to discuss one of my queens, living legend, the original influencer, Martha Stewart.
Hell yeah.
I recently mentioned watching the Netflix documentary on Martha, and I said I wanted more. So now we're getting more. My source for this episode is a book called Just Desserts. Just Desserts, yeah. This is an unauthorized bio of Martha that interviewed over 400 people who knew and or worked with her. This book is by Jerry Oppenheimer. I did watch the Martha documentary again as well. And I watched the Sybil Shepherd TV movie based on a book called Martha Inc. that deals more with her successful years. We should recap that movie. It's so fucking insane.
I remember that movie.
And she did a second one, Martha Behind Bars, where Sybil plays her in prison, which I also think would be a funny recap. So I did recently see that Martha was planning on writing her own autobiography. So we'll definitely dig into that when it comes out, if it ever comes out. But for now, let's get into the juicy story she will probably have a very different version of in her book. I love that for her. She's the classic. She's the queen of like reinvention. She really recreated this whole backstory and life for herself that really didn't match up with reality. But she has the right to make up whatever fantasy bio she wants. We all do.
It's like my mother always said whenever Martha Stewart would pronounce it Herb. You're from Jersey!
Yes, Herb. That's one thing that makes me like, I guess the kids would say gives me the ick. Yeah. When she would say Herb.
She always said Herb.
Yeah, I don't like it. So let's get started. Martha Helen Kostyra was born August 3rd, 1941 in Jersey City, New Jersey, to Edward, a phys ed teacher, and a housewife, Big Martha.
Big Martha.
We all know Big Martha. She was their second child and first daughter. And after she was born, the family brought her back to their small, nothing special house in the Sparrow Hills section of Jersey City, which was a community of struggling immigrants with views of Manhattan to one side and the dumps of Jersey City to the other.
Nice.
Jersey City is not the best city in New Jersey to live in. Those cities immediately outside of across the river are usually kind of not great. They're kind of stinky. They're famously stinky. Because there's some dumps there, and there's some like factory type smells. Do you know certain factories send out some stinky smells?
Yeah, I don't like them.
No. So Martha's sun sign is Leo, and she has been described as a classic Leo, arrogant, confident, inflexible. I'm sure Leos have some nice traits.
I love Leos. Those are my fire sign sisters.
Oh, really? I don't feel like I know. I guess I know a few Leos.
I just feel like a camaraderie with any fire sign.
Okay.
As an Aries.
Is that astrologically true? Like if you're the same type of sign, you kind of get along with that type of sign?
I think so.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I was like, maybe you clash with them because you're like, no, I'm the arrogant one.
Well, I don't know if Aries are arrogant, but we're very competitive.
Yes. Well, Martha's very competitive as well. So many credit her paternal grandfather, Frank Costyro, for passing down to Martha these key aspects of her success. He was a cook. He was a hardworking entrepreneur with a strong survivor mentality. After immigrating to the United States, Frank worked his way up in the Child's Restaurant Company. This was one of the first national dining chains. It's like the original Cheesecake Factory. This is where working class families would go to get economically priced meals and have like a little night out, or where workers would go for their lunch, kind of one of those situations.
Now, is both Big Martha and Frank Polish?
Yes. Frank is her grandfather. He's Polish.
Okay.
Eddie is her dad. He's Polish. Martha is also Polish. It's all Polish people in this family.
That's what I thought.
Yes. So After he leaves Child's restaurant, he moves to the Polish immigrant area in Jersey City and opens up a butcher shop, Kostyra Meats. He also builds a close relationship with the politically powerful in that town, namely Mayor of Jersey City, Frank Hague. He's always supplying him with the best cuts of meat. This guy's table is always stacked with the best pork, whatever else he wants, kielbasa. So because of this relationship, he's able to open up Kostyra's bar, serving alcohol even during Prohibition. He becomes the guy you go to for small loans as well, at a hefty interest rate, of course. So Martha's grandfather was really hustling. He had a lot of little businesses going. His son, Eddie, Martha's father, was something of a boy genius. He had a photographic memory, something that will be passed down to his daughter, Martha. His parents all are like, he's going to be something great, like a surgeon. He does end up getting a college degree, but it's in physical education. So his parents have to be satisfied that he's the first person in their family to get a college degree. But they're disappointed. In the summer of 1937, he meets, well, we don't know what happened. He meets Martha Rutkowski. They meet at a Polish heritage seminar. He's already working as a phys ed teacher, which keeps him employed during the Great Depression. He's taking night courses to kind of move up. He's already kind of like, I need to move up from this phys ed shit. He wants a greater future than what that job can give him. But Big Martha and Ed are horny for each other.
Yeah.
They're like a little too horny for each other. And the book says that they were more interested in the birds and the bees than polka and pierogies. Because they were at a Polish seminar. I guess. Why not all? Why not? Why can't we be interested in all of it?
How about remove polka?
Yeah, polka.
Look,
polka can stay.
I think, no.
You don't want to fuck to polka.
You don't. I think polka might be the least horny music ever produced.
Yeah.
No offense to the Poles. The Poles have given us better things than polka.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Please don't write to us that you all the time fuck to polka. We don't want to know.
I don't want any sick fucking
We're not
freaks
interested
like
in your
that
kinks.
listening to our show.
So as we all know, horniness doesn't always lead to good things. And in this case, it turned into an unwanted pregnancy and the end of Eddie's dreams, according to him. Now, there are many stories of what happened as far as their marriage went. There's different timelines of how things went down. Definitely have been adjusted and lied about over the years. Many women were calculating the months from the marriage to the baby being born. It was that kind of thing. So people always thought that they were pregnant when they eloped, and then they were forced to have this church wedding by their Catholic parents. Others claim that this obsession with the birds and bees led to a shotgun wedding after Big Martha got knocked up in the summer of 1937. So there was always rumors surrounding their marriage, but it was all confirmed at Big Martha's 80th birthday party when Martha's oldest brother, Eric Scott, he had anglicized his name at some point, did his toast. In the toast, looking out at all his siblings, their children and families, he said, "The reason you're all here is because of me. If I was never born, my mother might not have ever gotten married to Dad if I wasn't conceived." A scandalized gasp came out from the crowd. For some, a long-rumored secret was confirmed, but others never even knew there was this possible, secret. Big Martha was extremely embarrassed. Even more shocking, Martha wrote her little remembrance column about the event and Martha Stewart living. She spilled the beans on her mom there being knocked up before marriage as well to all of her readers, and the family was furious.
I'm sorry.
Do you remember her column, the remembrance?
Yeah.
Column, like at the end of the magazine?
I loved that magazine.
It's so good. I actually been looking on eBay. I'm like, I want to get a stack of them and just look through them.
The vintage ones are my favorite.
So according to her aunt Estelle, she said it was a shotgun wedding, and that's what kills me. After I read it, I called Martha Sr. to tell her what little Martha did, and she said, "Oh, Martha wouldn't do that." I said, "Don't bet on it." I sent her a copy of the article, but she never responded. Estelle is a little busybody. Why is she sending her this copy of Martha Stewart Living to get poor Martha, Big Martha, all upset?
I used to love when Big Martha would come on the show because you could just see how silently stressed Martha Stewart was with her mom there, kind of trying to micromanage everything. Because her mother's personality was so different than her daughter's. Just seeing the two of them in action was like incredible.
Knew there was some dark undertones.
There was some tension there. Not that I don't think they didn't love each other.
They had their way. So her brother, Frank, her younger brother, he went on to say that while Martha publicly acted like she had thrown this party, Martha Stewart Living just sponsored the party, and Martha sent each sibling an invoice of $1,400, which was their share of the expenses. Now, this unwanted pregnancy and unexpected marriage would lead to Eddie's lifelong resentment, and this would really turn him into a bitter and angry man. Big Martha also wasn't happy about it. She had planned on pursuing teacher before marriage and kids, and both of them now had this new life that neither one of them had dreamt of. So, like other children of immigrants, their hopes and dreams were now all placed on their children. The second of which, as I mentioned, was this baby girl, Martha Jr. 4 months after Martha was born, Pearl Harbor happened and the U.S. entered World War II. And like other men his age, Eddie enlisted into the army or whatever. He never was deployed. He kind of served the home front, something that to this day remains a mystery since many men his age with families were deployed overseas.
Wait a minute. How old was this guy?
He's pretty young.
Wasn't he born in 1937?
No. Martha was born in 41.
Her brother, you said, enlisted.
No. Eddie is her dad.
Eddie is her dad. Yeah. I'm sorry.
No.
Who did they have in 1937? The brother.
Martha's brother.
Frank. No, Frank's the younger brother.
Now you're confusing me.
Whatever. Just forget what I said.
Okay.
The dad.
The dad enlisted. The dad
That's
enlisted.
All that matters.
He's old enough. So anyways, people are speculating why did this happen, but perhaps it was a perk of being down with Mayor Haig. Like maybe that political power kept him from being deployed. Regardless of that fact, this further delayed any career aspirations he was trying to get at. By the time the war was over, Martha and Eddie had a third baby on the way. And tragically at this time, Frank Kostyra died unexpectedly from pneumonia. That's Martha's grandfather. With a small inheritance, though, the Kostyra family decided to leave Jersey City, buying a 2-story, 3-bedroom Depression-era house on 86 Elm Place in Nutley, New Jersey. This is the famous house we all hear about where Martha grew up. She was just 3 years old when the family moved into this quaint little town, who were famous for their parks and being the birthplace of Valium.
No way.
Yes.
What an iconic town.
Yes. And now it's obviously famous for being where Martha Stewart grew up. When Martha was 5, her dad became a salesman for Pfizer, entering the sometimes lucrative world of pharmaceutical sales. But this was a volatile industry, and we've all seen the death of a salesman, or I assume we have. No judgment if you haven't. We haven't all seen that?
The way you said that was a little judgmental. We've all seen Death of a Salesman.
Right, losers? Well, I feel like it was a book we all read, right? In high school or something. Wasn't that one of the reads?
I didn't read anything in high school.
Okay. Well, Rachel didn't read it. So obviously sales can be a very depressing job. It has like high highs and low lows. And that's, for someone like Eddie, probably not the best career choice because he's already so resentful. So during his big lows, Big Martha would have to go find teaching work to help support the family. And Martha would always have to sort of pick up the slack because she was the oldest daughter. Eddie would even tinker with inventing his own concoctions for the pharmaceutical companies. He was like, I should be, doing something bigger than sales. How about this idea for a drug?
He's like blowing himself up in the basement.
In the book, they acted like he might have tested things on his kids. I wasn't quite sure because I was like, wait, what? Like, what was he doing?
What was he even like mixing up? Was he like put a little NyQuil in this?
This is like
put a little cinnamon in that.
The Wild West days, I think, of drug ingredients.
You could get those.
Right. Because I do know some of the things he tested were like gardening type things, like how to get bigger tomatoes. I mean, all of this stuff probably causes cancer. So it's probably like.
Didn't I do an episode where this guy was a murderer, but he had like a brief period of time where he wanted to be an inventor, and he was like inventing his own hair tonics.
Yeah, that does sound familiar.
And he wasn't very good at it.
No, I think that you could just access some ingredients and start fucking around. But like to test it on your kids, that seems wrong. Don't do that. So anyway, his little tinkering never materialized into any, bigger jobs at Pfizer. The bitterness and resentment grew with Eddie, and that resulted in him becoming abusive. This was directed towards his family, emotional, verbal abuse, but sometimes it did turn physical. It wasn't uncommon when the kids would misbehave, they would get the belt or the switch. And according to Frank Costira, Martha's brother, Martha began resenting the dad, especially after an incident where he kicked her in the back in front of the house, and she kind of fell on the ground. He recalled her saying at the time that she would never forgive him. The violence was also happening with Big Martha as well. The two would often get into heated fights, screaming Polish at each other and escalating into slapping and hitting. Frank, the son, once yelled at his mom to just divorce him already. Many of these fights would stem from Eddie taunting Martha Sr. by talking about all the sexy stewardess and other women he would encounter during his traveling sales job. And although many suspect that it was just talk on Eddie's part, he kept doing it, and he almost seemed to just like getting a rise out of Big Martha with that information. Now, obviously, this is very different than the idealized version her loyal readers got from her recollections of life in Nutley, New Jersey, starting in 1982 with her first book, Entertaining. But those who knew her growing up think she was highly influenced in this creation of a perfect nuclear family by her favorite TV show growing up, Father Knows Best. Some even say she saw herself as the perky, creative, mature daughter on the show, Betty Anderson. And Martha seems to have spent a majority of her fantasy on reimagining her bitter dad, Eddie, in particular. She dedicated her first book to him and thanked him for giving her a love for all things beautiful. She also dedicated her book, Gardening, to him, thanking him for instilling in her a love of growing things. And she goes on to talk about gardening in particular being this thing that was their primary bonding experience. She was his only child who loved to toil in the soil, and they would pore over seed catalogs together, picking out things to plant for the next season. They would pickle things together with their excess crops. And, she really believed in hard work leading to a happy life based on this influence from her dad. The other kids in her family hated gardening, and that was because their father hovered over them, criticizing them for not meeting his perfectionist standards. So Martha really took that to heart. That will become a trait that a lot of people are critical of her for, being a perfectionist and not being satisfied with the way anyone does anything. It had to be her way or the highway.
That's what I'm saying about when Big Martha would come on the show.
Yes.
Big Martha was a lot more rustic.
Yes.
She would be teaching us how to make stuffed cabbage or something else Polish.
Right.
And it has a very, as Ina would say, it's very, something very earthy and rustic. And Martha would sort of be hovering over her, kind of almost fixing things in her head. You could see the wheels turning.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting hearing early life stuff because it's like it all makes sense in what happened to her, like how she developed. You can see where it all comes from.
Yes. And I say all this with the absolute utmost affection for Martha Stewart. She is a staple of my childhood.
I agree. And I definitely lie in between the two, Big Martha and Martha. Like, I am definitely rustic. And then I definitely like things done a certain way. And I, as someone who like has cooked with children and like whatever, it's very difficult to like let them go.
Of course.
And not be like, well, maybe try. I mean, and I'm not even nearly as controlling as Martha.
No,
like
no.
I would faint under the pressure of doing something in her presence. Like it would kill me probably.
Me too.
Anyway, in some of her charming remembrances, she will see like some darker things will seep in from time to time. In particular, people bring up two incidents. One, she wrote about the time she was severely punished when she was caught sampling a Valentine chocolate that was in her mother's like heart-shaped box. And she also talks about how her dad insisted her mom hand iron his shirts to perfection, which sounded like a charming anecdote. But then thinking about the fact that she had 6 kids, was cooking 16 meals a day.
Yeah.
And had to fucking iron this guy's shirts. It seems like borderline insane that she had that expectation as well. Martha often also will talk about having her dad's fiery temper. The warm but modest home described by Martha in her writings was not one remembered by her friends growing up. They described the home as being cold, one that they didn't really want to be at. And that was primarily because they were scared of her dad, who they perceived as being a tyrant and an ogre. They recalled numerous times that they saw this anger come out, including an incident where he was throwing National Geographic magazines. Just because he was mad about something. He would yell at Martha and her sister Kathy. And they described a time where Martha was being yelled at and she ran and locked herself into the bathroom. One thing they said they never saw was emotion or tears coming from Martha during any of these incidents. Martha herself admits to this in a remembering column. She said the family motto was "Don't cry." But she did confess that she would sob quietly under her quilt sometimes, but in her remembrance, the tears weren't caused by her dad's rage, but by the sad novels she was reading. The violence eventually seeped into the relationship of the kids as well, in particular Martha and her younger brother Frank, who says he still has lead in his finger from when Martha stabbed him with a pencil.
Jesus.
That's not how you do it. He also claims it was during her preteen years that Martha developed her hate syndrome. I hate mom. I hate dad. I hate this. I hate that. Martha was an OG hater. I don't know. I kind of relate to that feeling as a kid when you realize you cannot like things. And do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean, you don't have to take it that extreme, but a lot of the fights between the children were stirred up by their dad's philosophy to always be the leader. So the kids took this to heart, and this created nonstop conflict between the children because they all wanted to be the leader. So they all demanded things to be their way. And Martha, being the most competitive and her father's favorite, was always the winner. She was the leader. He saw her as the only child of his who might actually be what he thought he should have been. According to Martha, my father took me under his wing. I learned everything. He taught me how to garden, how to use all the tools. He helped me with public speaking. Mother may be the better teacher because he taught by "I'll beat it into you," and mother did it in the more normal fashion. But I was receptive to that kind of teaching. I didn't mind it at all.
Wait, so she admitted, "I'll beat it into you."
She liked it.
Damn.
As I mentioned, this is definitely a love-hate relationship. Her brother Frank thinks that Martha was very influenced by her father, and he doesn't put a positive spin on it. He says that the father influenced her to be a man-hater. He said that she didn't like male authority then, and she doesn't like it now. By the way, they're not close. So unfortunately, they weren't getting the softness from mom either. Although she wasn't abusive, obviously, she is described as very cold and unaffectionate, probably because that's how she was raised. And Martha's home growing up was pretty much hug-free.
Damn.
So that's also kind of sad.
That's really sad.
And it's not surprising to find out that Martha found solace in school. this is a hard same for me. Like when you have that troubled life, sometimes when you're young, you go to school and it's like you'll have a teacher who sees you or whatever. I think this is a common experience that I've heard from other kids in like a more abusive or neglectful home.
They have that English teacher.
Yeah, they go to school and that's where they can be like who they are or something. Like they have this, it's like this vacation from your horrible home, And Martha had this. She began a lifelong bond with her teacher at this time named Irene Wire, who immediately took an interest in the stern girl with the handmade dresses. Martha was equally impressed with the young teacher, who wasn't an old maid, but young and stylish and attractive. And this bond was a blessing for the attention-starved Martha. She very quickly became teacher's pet, getting the coveted role of the singing doll in a production of The Little Engine That Could, singing a duet in a handmade frilly bonnet. Martha's competitiveness kicked in at school as well. She was literally like the perfect student, excelling at all she did. And she would even have this teacher over for lunch, setting the table, making everything perfect, an early sign of things to come. The teacher would become her confidant and counselor for years to come. When people have tried to interview this teacher and get insight into young Martha, she is quoted as saying, "People have a way of telling me things they maybe wouldn't tell anybody else. If Martha had confided something about her family, I would not repeat it." So she ain't talking.
Nice.
This is a nice confidant. Now, at home, money was tight, but you wouldn't know it from Martha's remembrances. She wrote often about these elaborate meals cooked by Big Martha, the pies, the tarts, the choices that were available just at a regular Sunday dinner. But friends remember differently. They say often when they would go over, it was bologna on white and sometimes Golden's mustard sandwiches. Just mustard on bread.
That's sad.
Really sad.
Wait, that's what they were serving at Big Martha's house?
Yeah. I do think Martha cooked, but it wasn't always like every meal.
It wasn't gourmet meals.
Yeah, she wasn't
doing
it all the time. And good for her. I mean, I don't approve of the mustard sandwiches. But if that's all you have, I mean.
Sometimes that's all people have.
And that was a large reason why the garden started. They
needed food.
They needed food, and they would often trade it, like what they grew, for other things like meat or other things they couldn't grow, obviously. She even often talks about her relationship with the Mouses, a German couple who lived next door. That's M-A-U-S, not mouse.
Okay, I was like, oh, she's going to have her Cinderella moment with the mice.
She talks about how they taught her all about baking, and even that's disputed. Her brother, Frank, bitterly says that he was the one with the relationship with the Mouses, and the bowl and recipes Martha claimed to receive after Mrs. Mouse's death was his. He said, "That's my bowl. They gave it to me." I like that he's mad about the bowl. But it does seem like Martha is like that classic person who hears things and stories and all of a sudden it's incorporated into their like social media post or tweet or like, do you know what I mean? Where they kind of are a sponge. And it's like, sometimes you're like, is that intentional? Do they remember it that way? Or do they steal everyone's best memories? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Or maybe it did happen, but not as much as it happened with Frank.
Yeah.
Maybe he did have a closer relationship, but in her view.
Yeah. Well, that's, I think, the thing. Martha's view, it's like, what's real and what is her like fantasy?
Yeah.
It can be I'm not even saying she's lying. I'm saying I think she does. If she did have a photographic memory, sometimes those people can sponge up things and forget who it happened to. Have you ever had someone tell a story and you're like, "That I told that story." Yeah. I've had that happen to me. And I was like, "That's my story."
Well,
and it's like something very minor. I don't really care. But it's kind of like funny to hear it retold. And it's like, that happened to me.
But did they say it happened to them?
Yeah. I think it's like, it's not even like a story like this happened to me, but it's like almost like a joke.
Like I heard
when you go to this store and it's like retelling your joke about an experience.
Yes.
Or like, isn't it interesting, like this insight? It's like, that was my insight that I told you.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of stuff. Not like a personal, memory of something that happened to you, but it's like an experience you had that gave you a funny insight.
Yes.
And then they repeat the insight.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So Martha famously claims that one of her early experiences in entertaining was through her babysitting jobs, that because babysitting was such paltry pay, she took up charging for additional tasks, including helping to plan birthday parties, and bake cakes for kids' parties, stuff like that. So she really started this preteen caterer deal. Like that, she started it at such a young age. And she also displayed her first cutthroat business practices from the start, according to a local girl. Now, this girl who had the same interests as Martha, she babysat, she also loved cooking and parties. She began offering her babysitting clients little party services as well. When she was hired to make a birthday cake, Martha was only too happy to provide her with her favorite chocolate cake recipe. When the cake came out flat and hard, she tearfully called her client and informed her of the bad news, only to be told that it was okay because Martha had arrived at that moment with a cake fresh from the oven. Now, Martha said she must have made a mistake when she wrote down the recipe, but to this day, that friend sees Martha as the bad seed. All sweetness on the outside with a killer instinct inside. She said, nothing has changed. Same girl, different cake.
Wait, so who baked the flat cake?
Her friend that Martha gave the recipe to.
Oh.
So she followed Martha's recipe.
And it was a bad
And she
recipe.
probably didn't put baking soda in or something. And it failed.
And then Martha's like, well, I just happen to have this cake.
Oh, this just came out of the oven. So
that's dirty.
Very dirty. When she entered high school, she had grown very pretty and tall. At high school, she was exposed to a new crowd since high school included some more wealthy local areas in the district, and Martha was naturally drawn to this more affluent lifestyle, becoming resentful of her long list of chores, her shared room, no privacy, no space of her own. She wanted the kidney-shaped skirted vanities her friends had. So she was pretty resentful, too, of all the damn kids her parents kept having when her baby sister, Laura, popped out. When Big Martha was 41, it was like, enough. She's like sick of these damn kids happening. She became obsessed with social status, telling everyone who would listen about what her life was going to be like when she grew up. One of her friends said, Martha once said something I'll never forget in the light of what and who she's become. She said, that's all my mother does, stand in front of a hot stove cooking. And what does she have to show for it? She works like a peasant. I want more out of life and I'm going to get it. Martha became well known at Nutley High School for being highly ambitious and competitive, a straight-A student once again, and a writer and editor for the quarterly literary magazine. She was the only girl to take beyond the 2 years required math, taking this incredibly difficult calculus classes with all boys, but she thrived on competition and challenge, and she loved going up against the boys. That's been with her from the beginning. Part of her overachiever nature was propelled on by the fact that her father told her they would not be able to afford sending her to college, but she was determined to go, and she was going to get scholarships to do that. This was left very little time for fun, and what little time she did have free was eventually taken up by Martha's modeling career.
Because she was hot, too.
She was really pretty.
Gorgeous.
She had that classic kind of look.
She looked like a model.
So her first big break was appearing in a Lifebuoy soap commercial. This is in the documentary and probably online. If I can find it, I'll post the clip of her in this soap commercial. She's the star of this commercial. And this aired during one of the big Western shows at the time. This was a national commercial. And her classmates were like, whoa. They were all super impressed to see Martha in this big commercial. Because this is when there's 3 channels.
Yeah.
So everyone was watching the same shows. But they did all giggle because Martha got dubbed. They didn't want her Jersey accent in the commercial, and she was dubbed by a more, what's that called? A waspy kind of accent.
It's like the Mid-Atlantic.
Mid-Atlantic,
The Mid-Atlantic
maybe.
accent. says so much.
Yeah.
This informs so much about her.
I want to hear her Jersey accent.
And the herbs of it all.
Yes. Whenever I listen to her speak, I like try to hear it.
No, it's indetectable.
I want to hear
Undetectable.
it. Yeah. So still, this national success really put her on the map. And she used to hide her modeling jobs, but now she was no longer insecure about it. And she kind of bragged about her success. And it really was the talk of Nutley High. And for once, the girls at school were envious of her, and that felt good as well. She began to see herself as a commodity. Eventually, Martha's hard work pays off. She does get a partial scholarship to Barnard College, and she's able to pay for the rest with her modeling income. So Martha does graduate in the top 10% of her class. Her yearbook picture is very Doris Day. Her nickname in high school was Marty, which I actually think is super cute.
I always liked Marty and
Peace. Exactly. Her English, whatever the information, not her yearbook information, like where they're like, Marty likes reading, eating, English, and swimming. And when she hears somebody loves me, she says, oh. Martha's personal inscription declared, I do what I please and I do it with ease.
Oh.
Which is very Martha Stewart.
It's very Martha.
Okay, we'll take a break here, and when we come back, we'll be at Martha's college years. So Martha thrives at Barnard. She loves being in New York City, and she talks about having her first Polynesian food there at Trader Vic's, and she becomes involved with her first activism. This is the infamous Barnard Bermuda Shorts ban.
They banned Bermuda Shorts?
Yeah. This was a dress code implemented by Barnard President Millicent McIntosh, and something today at Barnard is referred to as the dress code horror. Now, she had banned Bermuda shorts, and Martha was a huge fan of Bermuda shorts. She shows up to Barnard wearing Bermuda shorts, not realizing that this ban had been implemented, and it created a whole stir. She's like interviewed by the paper. I have a picture I can post of her in her Bermuda shorts being interviewed. So stupid.
Why'd they ban them?
I guess, who the hell knows?
Because they're not hot?
Because they're long shorts.
They're long shorts. Like, please do not wear Bermuda
They're very
shorts.
preppy. What if she just had a personal dislike? She's like, I hate them. Wear hot shorts.
Yeah, wear hot shorts.
Now, Martha was quickly becoming a thing on campus, and that's pretty impressive considering two of her classmates at the time who were in her same class of 63, Twyla Tharp and Erica Jong, were in her class. But at the time, Martha was the star of the school, especially after she was named in Glamour magazine's 10 Best Dressed College Girls article that came out yearly. This was like a huge thing to get. She got a whole photo shoot, and many people were like, the photos she sent in, those were my outfits that she borrowed. So she put together outfits from her friends, her richer friends' clothes, and sent them into Glamour magazine.
Well, she put them together.
She's a stylist. So in the article, we get full-page photographs of Martha. She's wearing her little outfits, her little A-line coats, an alligator bag. And they talk about Martha having an expressive face, that she's like a lover of life, in particular art and architecture. Her hero, composer Bartók, Churchill, playwright Christopher Fry. They talk about her cooking and her affection for a young man named Andy. So, Andy. Now, this is the first mention of Andy Stewart. Although she rarely dated in high school and had only had a few dates at Barnard, Martha was not a free-spirited girl exploring her sexual freedom at college like many other people her age during this period. She was very conservative sexually. She was very picky about who she went on to dates with, and she had a goal to marry well. So she wasn't just taking any suitors. They had to meet her standards. Almost no man met her standards. That is until she met Andy. Now, this all began when Martha took an art history class with Andy's sister, Deanne. This was the girl who everyone noticed because she was driven to school in a Rolls Royce every day. She instantly clocked Martha as an exceptional catch, and she eventually runs into Martha at the library and basically went right up to her and said, "Hey, I want to introduce you to my brother." Martha was intrigued, but honestly, at this point, more impressed with Deanne than anything else because she was confident and fashionable. So she agreed to give Deanne her number to pass on to Andy. Now, Andy didn't really need his sister's help. He had lost his virginity a few years earlier, and he had no problem getting laid after that. When he got Martha's number, he was reluctant to call because, according to him, the last blonde my sister tried to hook me up with was a dog. He relents and calls her. Dog is such a mean insult.
It's so mean.
Remember that insult was so prevalent,
what a
though?
Dog.
Yeah. Martha, at this point, is nearing the end of her freshman year. She's taken a room in a massive Fifth Avenue apartment. She's cooking and cleaning in lieu of rent for 2 elderly sisters. And I want this sitcom. Like, what is this show? Like, I'm just picturing Grey Gardens-esque old sisters with Martha.
Young Martha.
It's crazy. So he picks her up for dinner at this place, and he's instantly smitten when she walks out because, of course, she's dressed to a T, and she's very pretty. And she has an attitude with him, which she hasn't experienced before. Like, she gives him shit nonstop on the date. And at this point, he loves it. And they're inseparable from that moment on. When school starts back up in fall, Andy is back at Yale where he's attending law school. And Martha comes up every weekend to visit. Andy begins conspiring with his roommate how he's going to finally deflower Martha.
Wait.
She's a virgin at this point and hasn't fucked Andy either. So his roommate tells Andy that he should tell her he loves her and he'd be successful. I'm sorry, it's so mean.
This is diabolical.
It worked. But according to Andy, when he said, "I love you," to get her to fuck him, it actually manifested as the truth because he really felt it when he said it. And so I guess it worked out. They started screwing nonstop, and Martha in the documentary talks about it, and she's like, "I loved that he was so aggressive." Because Martha's in her horny age.
Yeah.
She's 80, and she's like 84.
Now she is.
I mean, I guess she was secretly.
I'm saying she's a lot more
openly sexual.
Martha's a lot more, she's a little looser. I just mean, like, she's not as tight as she was.
No. It's like she's rebranded.
Yeah.
For sure.
And we love that for her.
I do too. So Martha, of course, still has her Catholic guilt, however, and Andy, who is half Jewish, is irritated with her Catholicness. He was a philosophy major when he was an undergrad, so he has a lot of opinions about a religion. He thinks it's pretty much stupid, and he talks her to death until she finally gives up her parochial religious views. When Martha finally brings Andy home to meet her parents, Eddie's not happy. He initially acts like it's because he thinks Andy did something too affectionate with her younger sister, Laura, but it's most likely the fact that he was Jewish. And Martha says in the documentary, she's like, "My dad was a bigot, and he didn't like Andy because he was Jewish." In 61, Andy proposes to Martha, and she says no. A few weeks later, though, she does change her mind, and they become engaged. Now, Eddie is furious at Martha when she tells him that she's engaged. He, of course, he's like, "Don't marry young. It's going to ruin your chances of success, just like what happened to me." Obviously, he doesn't want her marrying a half Jewish guy either. And when she tells him she's getting engaged, he slaps her in the face. And she talks about this in the documentary. It's obviously something that really upset her. But she's determined to marry Andy and tells her dad, "I'm marrying him whether you like it or not." Now, due to Andy's dad kind of, gentrifying his name at some point to a less Jewish-sounding Stewart.
Anglicizing.
I'm sorry, anglicizing. Why I said that. I was like struggling. I was like, that's the wrong word. I'm just going to keep going. Anglicizing to the less Jewish-sounding Stewart. Martha is going to soon have the perfect waspy-sounding name.
It's so waspy.
And it's kind of funny how many things happened because it's like, that wouldn't have been the name if the dad never changed it to Stewart, right?
It's so this is blowing my mind right now because I would have never guessed that this was like her Jewish husband's last name.
I didn't know her husband was Jewish until like I read this. I just had never heard that before. But it's funny because you never would have guessed with Stewart. You know, no. It just sounds so Connecticut.
And Martha in her like peak, like in the 90s, like she, at least growing up and well into the 2000s, like she personified this like idealized sort of waspy existence.
Oh, totally. I mean, it's like you wouldn't even have guessed back then that she came from this working class Polish family.
No, which is why it was always so fascinating when her mom came on the show.
Yes.
Because it's like, oh, that's her mother.
Absolutely. So the wedding is scheduled for the summer of 1961. Martha's dad isn't the only snag she encountered during this engagement. Andy got her a $1,000 Harry Winston diamond ring for her engagement ring.
$1,000?
Yeah.
Well, this is
1961. It's pretty expensive.
It's expensive.
But it wasn't special enough for Martha. She had him return it and then went to a Midtown diamond wholesaler to get a bigger diamond with a more interesting setting, and then haggled the price down to get it for the same $1,000 that he spent. But many consider this incident to be a bad omen. They're like, she's already controlling him. She then began designing her bridal gown. This is a gorgeous wedding dress that she created for herself, and it has a Jacqueline Kennedy-inspired pillbox hat.
Love a pillbox hat.
She hand-sewed like 100 little fabric-covered buttons up the back. I mean, it is an insane wedding dress, but very tasteful. The wedding was small and also tasteful. And then that summer, Martha took a leave from Barnard and lived with Andy while he finished law school up in Connecticut. When Andy graduates law school, the couple moved back to New York City near Columbia in an apartment that is a real dump and severely depressed Martha. She was not living the life she had dreamed of yet. She finally graduates from Barnard, and Annie finished some classes he was taking at Columbia. And they took a 5-month tour of Europe together, like a belated honeymoon. Now, Martha has written about this trip numerous times throughout her publications and books. This is a transformative trip for her. She describes it as being an eye-opening experience where she was seeing these magnificent gardens, this architecture she had never seen before, but most importantly, the food. Martha hadn't even had an olive other than green with pimento before she went on this trip.
What?
I know. I mean, it's crazy to think back then food was not this thing.
Food was a lot different.
It was a lot different.
Food, I mean, I'm not going to be able to articulate this.
You just weren't. You didn't have access. You didn't have access to things, too.
Unless you were, like, wealthy enough to be able to travel. Even, like, haute cuisine. When did haute cuisine happen? Like, the late 70s? The 70s?
Yeah. I just think now you can walk into a grocery store and there's 50 types of olives at Safeway. Like, It doesn't have to be a gourmet store. You're going to have more things available to you. We just have
so much more access that's like food is so much more democratized than it was
absolutely
back then.
So she meticulously wrote down everything she ate in a journal. And I would love to get this journal printed. Like, she should print this journal and let me see it.
This is on their travels?
Yeah. And they show some of the pages in the documentary where it's literally everything they ate. And how they prepared it. Like, she's taking detailed notes.
She's just like us.
I know. It's like, oh my God.
So I'm sorry, where did they go again?
They were in Europe for 5 months. They went everywhere. I mean,
when people just go to Europe for 5 months.
Honestly, you need to do 5 months.
I know.
It needs to be that long.
Brendan's sister does Italy by region. Like, she'll focus her entire trip like by region in Italy, and she's been several times because you have to.
Yeah,
right?
you want to really, you don't want to skimp, right? That's the problem. You want to go and really immerse yourself, and she got to do that. Now, as with many things in Martha's life, this trip was not the idyllic version she wrote about. There were a lot of fights between the young couple, but there was one incident in particular that is often brought up. Martha and Andy are in Florence, Italy, and they hit it off with an Englishman they met that night while they were out. This is Easter Eve, so the night before Easter. At some point, Andy wants to go back to the hotel, but Martha still has a little bit of that Catholic girl in her, and she really wanted to go to a nearby Duomo on Easter Eve where people were going to whatever, worship. So whatever you do on Easter at church. Is it like a service, I guess? Anyway, there's some kind of thing where you're going.
Do you go Easter Eve?
Well, apparently it was happening here at this Florence cathedral. So the Englishman goes with her, and she doesn't get back till long after midnight. Now, in the documentary,
why didn't Andy go with her?
He's not religious, and I guess he just didn't want to go.
Well, I'm not religious. But
I would have gone.
I would have gone.
I would have too, and he should have gone, because Martha confesses in the documentary that night she kissed that Englishman in the cathedral. She was so overcome with the beauty of it all that it just felt like the thing to do.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I'm telling you,
Andy could have got that.
These cathedrals in Europe are like so spectacular.
In the documentary, the guy who's interviewing Martha kind of confronts her on this. And he's like, were you being unfaithful? Like, because she's kind of hedging on what she did there. And she's like, no, it was an emotional moment, not an unfaithful moment. And she leaves it at that. Now, when they returned to New York City, they began looking for a new apartment, and this time Martha was not settling for a dump. They go way over budget, getting a 6-room apartment on Riverside Drive. They immediately began fixing it up and filling it with beautiful things. Martha had hopes to expand her modeling career, but it just wasn't in the cards. She wasn't high fashion, and she pretty much had reached the limit of that career for the job she was going to get. But she didn't have time to be depressed about her stalling modeling career, because at the age of 23 in 1965, she becomes pregnant. And Martha immediately throws herself into remodeling and decorating the nursery. She also adopts her first kitten, Chiggy, who is named after something in Italy. I can't remember. It might be a cathedral or something. Anyway, this becomes one of her best friends. People marveled at how affectionate the cold Martha could be with Chiggy.
What's the kitten look like?
I think I have a picture of it in the book. It's like a tabby. It's just a cute little tabby. And Martha claimed that Chiggy was also not only cute, but very smart and could even answer the phone.
What?
Now, this came about,
come on,
because of an incident that happened. A neighbor called Martha's house, and the phone was picked up, and she heard some sort of mewing sounds, but didn't know what it was and thought someone was in distress. So they sent the police to the apartment. But it was the cat who had answered the phone.
What, like the cat batted the phone?
I guess the cat batted the phone off the receiver and then was like, meow. And the neighbor got scared because I guess they've never heard of a cat. Anyway, sadly, Chiggy dies unexpectedly. And Martha is broken by the incident.
When?
I don't know what happened. They don't go into details. But Martha, she's like devastated. And how does she solve the incident? She immediately goes out and gets another kitten and names it Chiggy.
Dude.
That's like, you're dealing with something. It's like, go to therapy, Martha. This is not healthy. I mean, get another cat.
Get another cat.
You're not fooling anybody. It's not Chiggy anymore. It's
not the same.
So soon she has baby Alexis. And she looks to get back into modeling work, even trying to get work with her baby. But clients don't like Alexis. They think she's too grumpy and not Gerber enough. If you've seen a picture of Alexis throughout her childhood, she does look like a grumpy child because she is getting neglected to some extent because both her parents are like out and their marriage is bad. And so she's kind of always moping around. Anyway, Alexis is responsible for the chocolate chip cookies I always make, so I'm a fan. So Alexis then stays home while Martha goes on her go-sees, and she hires a young babysitter. Valerie Harper is Martha's babysitter. So shortly after Alexis is born, they buy a country house in Western Massachusetts, a dilapidated schoolhouse for $3,000. They name it Middlefield, and the renovation of this home takes 5 years of backbreaking work. Every weekend they go to this house, and it really begins to take a toll on their marriage as well. Martha is obviously hypercritical. That side really flares up when they're working on this house, even on minor things like Andy packed the car wrong. Like, why did you do it this way? And it just becomes obvious to many that Martha is always right and everyone else is always wrong. Friends are also surprised when, after all the hard work, they just sell the Mittelfeld home for a profit. They had all assumed it was this romantic idea this couple were striving for, not just a business transaction. Now, it's around this time, like many other Americans, Martha becomes obsessed with Julia Child. She's not a natural cook. Like she's not a good cook at this point. Like Martha isn't. She kind of knows, but she's obviously never trained. And Julia Child went to culinary school.
Yes.
And has studied extensively. So she does what a lot of people do at this time, just starts cooking through the art of French cooking, those cookbooks. And
I mean, and this, I should have mentioned before, Julia Child was a lot of people in America's first exposure to French cuisine.
And of course, Martha, fresh from Europe, is especially going to be attracted to this. But obviously, Julia is a great personality and her show was amazing.
Yeah.
But also the cooking, the cooking was fantastic and the food is great. And all of these techniques are people had never cooked in that way.
It's so
people
funny.
were having dinner parties to do these recipes.
But Julia, personality-wise, it's so funny because Julia couldn't be more different than Martha. Because Julia, will drop a whole chicken on the ground and be like, "It's okay, only the
exactly
cook knows."
Yeah, it's funny that she didn't pick up any influence from Julia as far as that kind of stuff went, right?
Yeah.
So the one skill that she did have, which is tying into what you just said, over Julia Child, was that she was a master of presentation.
Yeah.
Her food might not have been good initially, but it was always presented in the most fantastic way. So she really was I need to get my cooking skills up to the level of this presentation. In the documentary, which I thought was very interesting, she talks about how the art that she saw while in Europe really influenced her presentation. So she's literally copying masters. And in the documentary, they'll show something from one of her dinner parties or catering events, a basket of overflowing strawberries. And then you'll see the painting of that. She really revolutionized crudité, fruit plate, cheese boards, in these extravagant ways.
Yes.
When people would go to her catering events later, that was the thing that set her apart. They were blown away. They had never seen these kind of things. They show the bottle of chilled vodka in an ice sleeve that had cranberries and rosemary frozen in it. She's the one who did all that shit for the first time.
Yes.
And now it's very common, I think, that you see these kind of things. We see cheese boards all over TikTok. It's this presentation of butter boards and whatever. She kind of did that.
She's the presentational queen.
Yeah. And I just thought it was interesting to see her influence in these paintings where they have these still lifes of fruit where everything is overflowing it literally just came from the garden.
Bosque pears.
Yeah. And it was that's cool. And then you see them juxtaposed with her catering images and you're okay, I get it. That's really cool. So it was in the mid-'60s that Martha began throwing these big parties at the Riverside apartment, and she loved a theme. She went to extravagant, outrageous lengths to present things, and people really talked about her events and wanted to go and see what she came up with next. But she really did need to earn money to maintain this lifestyle. And at a dinner party in 1968, she asked her guests if they had any job ideas for her. One of the guests said that he could hook her up with a friend of his in the financial district. And following in the footsteps of her father-in-law, Martha decided she was going to be a stockbroker. Within 2 years, she was one of the firm's star sellers, earning upwards of $250,000 a year. And she was a woman in a man's world. She was the only woman oftentimes at any event, at work, at her office. She was the only woman. They all wanted to bang her. She's really hot during this period. And she's in her little sexy suits. You could just see how all the guys were probably oh.
Yeah.
She does face a lot of sexual harassment, going in these cars. They were always groping her. And one person really wanted to bang her. That was one of her early coworkers, Brian Dennehy, the actor. He started off as stockbroker, I guess, while he was, doing theater.
Imagine starting off as a stockbroker.
I know, that's crazy.
What the hell?
So Martha in the documentary speaks about having a brief affair during this period with a hot Irish guy. And I'm like, is it Brian? Because his parents were Irish immigrants.
Yeah.
But she doesn't name names. She describes the affair as the equivalent to the kiss in Italy, that it meant nothing. It was just like an emotion, not like a thing she was ruining her marriage for. And according to Martha in the documentary, Andy never knew about the affair. But in the documentary, the interview person is like, we spoke to him and he said he did know about it. And she's surprised in the moment to hear this information.
Oh my God.
So everyone in their circle is shocked when the Stewarts announced they are leaving New York City and buying a farmhouse in Westport, Connecticut. Like Middlefield, it needed extensive renovations. And this is her very famous home, Turkey Hill Farm. We all know this home because it is where many of the photo shoots in her books and magazines, where her TV show is filmed. Martha says without Turkey Hill Farm, there would be no Martha Stewart as we know her. And it would be here that she cultivates her homemaker extraordinaire image that will make her very famous and initially very criticized.
Yes.
So ironically, right around the same time they move to Westport, Connecticut, a popular book comes out called The Stepford Wives, which takes place in a fictional Connecticut town. Martha even goes to the area where they are filming the movie version later on to check it out. When the film is released, Pauline Kael, the critic, talks about the Stepford Wives, talking about the encroaching horror of suburban blandness, suburban women becoming overgroomed deadheads, obsessed with waxed, antiseptic households. And some years later, similar criticism is heaped on Martha and her followers. Now, Andy and Martha, they're putting all their free time into creating the home of their dreams. Well, Martha's dreams. I don't think Andy really gives a shit. But the pressure of creating the perfect home results in Martha comparing her home to other homes. She wants to be the best. And a lot of the stress and pressure is taken out on Andy. So this is where things start to get really bad in their marriage. She often criticizes Andy in front of people, calling him boring, disgusting, oafish, sloppy. She asked him why he can't be successful like Ralph Lauren. Sorry, like that's the standard. Why can't you be Ralph Lauren? She talks about all the other men she could be with if she wanted to. I mean,
not nice.
She's not being nice to Andy. Andy is like questioning why he's with her. He's like, I love her, but she is so mean to me. And he's like, can I turn this marriage around? Part of the issue is Martha has these outbursts, but she does not know how to apologize. According to him, Martha's idea of an apology was to say something like, it's my fault. I never should have asked someone as stupid as you to do this.
Stop it.
This is so mean. But Martha's luck on Wall Street is about to change. Ironically, it's due to her company's promotion of the stock for Levitt's, the cheap furniture company somewhere Martha would never have set foot in. That stock they push and it tanks, losing their clients money. Now, Martha is a control freak. I think even she would say that. And this was devastating to her because she couldn't control the market.
Right.
So this leaves her feeling very unmoored. She gets depressed. She's disenchanted by the market that had never turned on her like that before. And she resigns from the company in 1973. Now she's 32 years old, completely shattered, not knowing what she's going to do to start over. She has a real identity crisis, literally breaking out in hives from the stress of it all. She initially considers real estate, but she's too depressed to do anything. And she kind of throws herself into perfecting Turkey Hill in more and more insane ways, including doing things like stenciling her hardwood floors by hand.
Yes.
She describes her move into catering as something that happened by chance. She just basically placed an ad in the paper, and the next thing she knew, she was hired to cater a wedding for 300 people.
Damn.
Now, Obviously, this is the perfect occupation for Martha. She's a great cook. She knows presentation. She's a saleswoman. She's great at pitching herself and self-promotion. Brian Dennehy says Martha retired to a world that she knew every aspect of and could control and could make into a commodity that she could sell. Now, in the book, one of her coworkers on this first job says it was your typical first catering job. Almost everything went wrong. It was the middle of the summer. There was a lot of cold things that could possibly melt. The bride fainted at the wedding, which had nothing to do with Martha, but it was just another thing to sort of set things off. But everyone thought Martha herself was fabulous. Now, despite the problems they had that day, Martha is truly hooked on presenting these events and catering them. And her career basically takes off from the get-go. Like, she doesn't really have any downtime. Like, she's immediately one of the most popular caterers in the at least Connecticut and the tri-state area. Like, she has clients like Paul Newman. Like, she's getting celebrity clients who kind of live in Connecticut at that point. So as I mentioned, she's doing these things that I talked about, the strawberries spilling from baskets, the vodka bottles, all of these things she did at her dinner parties, she's now incorporating into her catering. One of her catering workers does say that Martha was extremely difficult, though, from the start. She had many incidents with Martha, but the final straw for her was the day that Martha had a catered, meticulously planned picnic. She had packed all of these vintage shaker picnic baskets with the stuff for the catered event. They were packing up the cars to take it to the location, and this woman backed her car up, running over one of these shaker baskets. She only stopped when she heard Martha's shrieks. She said that Martha was screaming, "You dumb fucking bitch." There's something very comical about this scene because these baskets are like from a painting.
Right.
These like beautiful picnic baskets. And this woman, like, she probably felt horrible.
Yeah.
And then Martha going off and calling her a dumb fucking bitch is like, I want to see this scene. It's evil, but also crazy. So this woman just kept driving. That's how scared she was of Martha.
I would too. I'm terrified of her.
She's like, I just drove around. I didn't come back. I was crying. She's like, it seems silly looking back on it, but it was very traumatic at the time. And that was it for me with Martha. So around this time that Martha left finance for catering, Andy also makes a career change, leaving law and going into publishing. He ends up replacing Harry Abrams, who at the time was famous for publishing these lavish coffee table books. And in 1976, he becomes president of Abrams' book. Now, this is very important to me because Andy, his first book sale that makes him a huge success because it's like the hugest book that comes out in 1977 is the book entitled Gnomes. Now, I've talked about this before. This is a book that I coveted that my Nana had. And when she died, it was what I took from her when I got to pick my items that I wanted. I had always wanted this gnome book. And that was the result of Andy Stewart. He's the one who got this book and printed it, and it became this huge success.
This is the book with all the illustrations of of different gnomes?
Yes.
And it's very 70s?
It's very 70s. It's all illustrated and handwritten.
Well, I mean, gnomes aren't real.
Well, yeah. Well, we don't know.
They're not.
They're illustrated in this book. There's no photos. Anyway, I was obsessed with this book and I still have it. I'll take a picture and post it maybe. I just found it. I was going through my books. I was like, where is that gnome book? And I found it with some of my other good books. So, of course, Martha was like, she's industrious. So she's like, how can I hop on the gnome craze? She initially comes up with the idea for like a gnome cookbook.
Wait, were gnomes big in the 70s?
After this book came out, yes.
And how many different kinds of gnomes are there?
That I don't know.
But why?
That I don't know.
But I have a question about the book.
Yeah. I haven't read it in a while.
Wait, is it a story?
No, it's almost like an encyclopedia.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So it's like, here's where gnomes live. And then they'll show you their little huts and like whatever. Okay. Here's their different clothing they wear.
Like, here's an old gnome.
Here's a baby.
Here's a lady gnome.
Yeah. So it's like a history / encyclopedia of everything you need to know about gnomes.
What about the 1980s children's cartoon on Nickelodeon called David the Gnome?
Oh, I never watched it.
I liked that show when I was little.
Well, that probably happened because of the book Gnomes.
It's very like 80s, like early 80s looking.
Oh, I probably have seen it.
It's an animated show. And in the show, the gnomes are like 500 years old.
Here's the other thing I remember in that book. I don't want to say it's my first nudity I saw, but there's some nudity in it.
So this is not a children's book.
One of the gnomes was topless.
No, it is not.
I'm not kidding.
That is sick.
And it's like not a hot top. It's like a
grandma gnome.
It's grandma tit type thing where you're kind of like, oh wow. But I was like, oh my God.
Is she wearing the hat?
Yeah, I think she's like literally in her skirt. And with just her tits hanging out, tits out, doing laundry or something. I'll have to find it. If I can post the photo with, maybe I have to censor it. I don't know on Instagram. Do I have to censor it? Do I have to blur the nipples?
Our whole account gets taken down
because I post gnome
tits.
I don't know. So it's like, if it's a drawing, is it okay?
Are garden gnomes hot in the 70s? Is that when this phenomenon started?
No, they're not hot. They're very gnome-like. They're like what you expect.
No, I'm saying...
Oh, hot.
No, I don't...
Rachel, please stop trying to jerk off to these gnomes.
I meant popular.
Popular.
Are they popular?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Gnomes... the gnomes explode in the late 70s. Everyone is gnome hungry. They want the gnomes.
The Martha Stewart stuff is very interesting, but now I'm also you've piqued my interest about.
Well, maybe we need to do
the gnome
special investigation.
Now, I knew somebody who had a gnome phobia. I'm serious. This is an adult person. A woman that I knew who had a legitimate gnome phobia and would burst into tears if they saw a picture of a gnome or a garden gnome.
I love people who burst into tears from their phobia. Then you're like, wow, that's legit.
It's a legitimate phobia. I've never known anyone else who had a gnome phobia, but this was real. Even mentioning the word gnome would send this person into some kind of spiral.
Well, don't send them the gnome tits. Who knows what will happen? That could ruin them.
Traumatizing.
Yeah. Now, one of her initial pitches, which she kind of stole from a friend, this is Martha stealing ideas is starting to happen here, or accusations of that. This person had an idea for a gnome cookbook, and Martha was like, ooh, I can do that. Now, this does not get picked up. This would have been Martha's idea of what gnomes eat, which honestly would buy this
mushrooms.
Cookbook.
The little red and white Super Mario mushrooms.
Ooh, and she would probably make them out of meringue.
Yes, they eat them. They're very brightly colored red with the white spots.
Yes.
I think gnomes eat acorns.
Yeah, she'd have to come up with some ideas.
Raspberries.
They drink water out of little flower cups too, just like in Willy Wonka.
Yes.
So the other idea, though, she had when the cookbook didn't work out was a chain of fast food health restaurants called the Gnome Hut.
I don't even think this bitch is really about it. I don't think she's really about the gnomes.
She's just trying
to capitalize on the gnomes.
So according to someone in the know, Martha's idea was you could drive up, get yourself carrot juice, tabbouleh, your hummus sandwich with garden vegetables, and she said it would be a franchise just like McDonald's. Now, I have often thought we need a healthy fast food.
I've always thought this.
Yeah. So I was like, I think this is a great idea. You could make the building look like a toadstool.
Yes.
It would be so cute.
I would eat there every day.
I'd get some tabbouleh and some hummus sandwiches with garden vegetables. Now, obviously, Gnome Hut didn't happen. Pizza Hut sued them. No, just kidding. Which is really sad.
Would the building be like a gnome hat?
They don't speculate on that, but I think it should be a toadstool. like a red and white, the mushroom like you were talking about. The hat's cute too, though. Like an A-frame.
Oh, that's what I'm picturing is like a big triangle conical gnome hat is the structure of the building. And then when you drive up, you speak into a little toadstool.
Or like a tree trunk. You know what I mean? With
like a talking
and the talking thing is the cutout, the black hole. Wait, this idea can still happen.
I think if we get enough capital, we could make this a reality.
I agree.
And then Martha can sue us.
Yeah, I agree. We'll steal an idea from her and see how she likes it. Now, of course, nothing happens long in Martha's life where there isn't a dark side to it. And this one is Andy suffering an injury in a rowing accident, and a lump appears on his hip where he got injured, and it turns out to be cancerous.
Oh
now,
my God.
This is like crazy to me that I didn't even know that this could happen. Like an injury created cancer.
I thought it was like he just happened to have cancer there and he wouldn't have gotten it checked out.
Possibly. It's unclear in the story. But regardless, he has to immediately begin a radiation regime because his leg will have to be amputated otherwise.
What?
Like, it's serious. This health scare actually brings out a softer side in Martha, and they become closer than ever. But of course, that soft period doesn't last long, and she is a bitch again, according to people in the know and interviewed for this book, who all hate Martha. Apparently.
So this book is very biased against Martha.
I would say it's definitely biased against her, but probably a little more truthful in some cases than what she presents. So it's tricky.
We're trying to do a holistic approach.
Yeah. And this is coming from both of us who like Martha Stewart. But I definitely believe she's a bitch. And I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. I mean, it is a bad thing. But men in business are also probably equally bad to people and don't get as much shit as she does, right? Like, that's a common thing.
I mean, I don't think she should be mean to her
husband.
Don't
either. She shouldn't be mean, period. You can be a successful businessman and not be mean, or businesswoman and not be mean, too. I mean, you can still have standards and not be mean about it.
Yeah.
I guess. But anyway, she's a bitch to her husband again. She's starting to smack talk him to people. He shows up late and she's like to her assistants, don't ever get married. Men are so stupid. I'm sorry. It is very funny to me that she's so over the top. And who needs men anyway, according to Martha? She tells people at a Chinese restaurant one time, I can will an orgasm whenever I want. I have that power.
I believe that.
I like to picture Martha closing her eyes and having
forcing
an orgasm mid-business meeting and going, okay, now I'm ready. And we don't even know she came.
I don't even picture her as a particular sexuality. I just picture her as like her own thing.
Yeah.
Like, I can't picture her with a man or a woman or anyone else.
Because she doesn't really respect anybody else. Do you know what I mean?
I'm just saying, like, sexually. I just think she's like Martha.
I agree, but that's what I mean sexually. It's like, I can't even, why would I fuck you? You're nothing to me. Do you know what I mean? She doesn't have that, like, desire for someone because no one is up to her standards, I think.
Maybe a decorative gourd.
Maybe, yeah, she fucks a gourd. It's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
She even starts going after Andy, blaming him for his injury that caused the cancer. She's like irritated that he went canoeing to begin with. Some people claim that she said that he was just trying to get sympathy. I don't know if she went that far. And maybe those people are being a little mean. But their marriage is definitely not good. And many people who are more on Andy's side tell him to get rid of Martha at this point, just like he would get rid of his cancer. They often link the two. They're like, she caused your cancer. That's also kind of mean.
Yeah.
And probably not true. But Martha is not done with the marriage. And she's not done with presenting the perfect marriage either. She gets a story in People magazine, which is the height of success. No.
When is this? The 70s?
It's like 1979. The story is headlined, Martha Stewart caters for the Newmans and the Redfords while Andy cooks up gnomes. So it's a couple profile about this successful couple in Westbury, Connecticut. They do like Westport. Yeah, Westport, Connecticut. They're like a successful couple, and people love that. But tragedy strikes again when Martha's dad dies in August of 1979. At the funeral, his son Frank gives the eulogy, and he drags his dad's ass in front of everyone. People are shocked. The priest is like, he's like, should I stop it? Like, it is literally one of those movie moments where the eulogy is dragging. And someone says that Martha seemed to enjoy it, saying it was like she wanted to say those things too, but it was nice to see someone else say them and then she wouldn't get in trouble. Yeah. So it was like the perfect thing for her. But she picks up, she liked the People profile and she wants more press. She gets appearances published in Good Housekeeping, Country Living, features her kitchen at Turkey Hill, as well as her ideas for the perfect holiday dinner. She eventually becomes a freelance food editor for House Beautiful. But her catering company, as she sort of focuses on this, her catering company doesn't have her attention to detail and things start to slip and slide and she gets a little lazy. People are complaining. They're saying things are over budget. They're being charged more than the agreed price. And sometimes the food is not up to snuff. And people are shocked when they discover that Martha will take leftover food and drink after events.
Why?
The next day, people will say, where's the liquor? Where's the ham? And Martha will say, well, you ate it all. Now, this just happened.
It did.
We talked about it on our mini, I'm pretty sure. And
not with Martha.
At
a restaurant.
Another cake, a cake that got eaten or whatever. And she's like, no, we didn't. They'll say, we didn't eat it all. Where is it? And Martha was taking the food, packing it up, and using it for other parties.
Oh.
Now, this is accusations. She would even take food, according to people, from photo shoots. One person said they were on a shoot where the client tried to pack up the food, saying, I'll take it home. And Martha said, no, I'm going to use this smoked turkey for a catering job tonight. And they got into a big argument over the turkey, screaming at each other in front of people. At other parties, she would cater. Martha would get bottles of wine that were half full or quarter full and bring them back to the catering kitchen in Westport and make homemade vinegar. And those vinegar bottles would end up in Ralph Lauren's gift baskets. There was a whole period where her people who worked for her were kind of like aghast because she would sometimes even take the wine from people's glasses and put it in a bottle to take home.
To make vinegar.
And they asked Martha, what about germs? And she's like, no, it's alcohol that kills all the germs. Sorry. I do love Martha is very thrifty and kind of likes to recycle and upcycle.
She does.
But that's a little too far, I would say. If it's in the glass. If it's in the bottle, who gives a shit? If it's in the
glass, there might be like a piece of someone's food in there and their spit, and it's like a little...
Well, you sip it, darling. Just kidding.
It's a little gross.
It's a little gross, but we don't know that it's true. I'm just reporting things from the book. But at this point, Martha is still this hustling Westport caterer, still waiting for her big break. Now, she gets a job, a pretty big job, and this will turn out to be Martha Stewart, Lana Turner discovery at Schwab's drugstore moment. In Martha's case, she is catering a party for Abram's book when a powerful publishing colleague of Annie's discovers her making omelets to order at this event. And he says to her, honey, I'm going to make you a star.
Wait, did Martha invent the omelets to order?
She invented the omelets to order. I don't doubt that she would, because it is kind of crazy to do that. And you know she did it like it was excellent omelets, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm going to leave off. We will have more Martha next week. It's all happening. Martha's about to have her big break.
I cannot wait to talk about Martha Stewart living with you.
I know. Entertaining, too. That's her first book that will come out.
Well, yes, that one. But
Martha Stewart living.
I assume we'll talk about that.
Oh, my God. There's so much to talk about. So, yeah, we will post some good pictures and stuff on our Instagram. So check that out.
We'll see you later for the mini episode?
Yeah. We will.
And then next week for the main.
Yes. Bye.